Entonces tampoco quiero usar mucho porque llego ahí a usar a Changlin y la pelea dura medio segundo. Entonces, pues bueno. No me parece mal el personaje de
Mizuki,
Mizuki.
Mizuki, you found me at last. Ah, and I see you've brought some friends with you. Please, forgive my lack of hospitality.
Emira Chuya. So it is you.
Mizuki was right after all. Paimon wasn't expecting him to be so polite, though.
Please, do not call me by that name anymore. The old me was plagued by negative emotions, but I have parted ways with them now. That period of my life is consigned to the past, and the name along with it.
You have to listen to me. There is no way to get rid of all your negative emotions. This life you're living now is a lie.
Your perspective is most amusing.
What's so funny? Don't you know you're harming people?
Harming people? That's what you believe? Very well. I understand and accept your perspective, even if you cannot afford me the same courtesy in return.
Ugh, what is up with him? He's being so calm and polite. So why does everything he says make Paimon want to punch him?
As you can see, Miss Yume Mizuki, all my psychological problems have been completely resolved. I must thank you for your attempts to diagnose my condition, but I see now that the truth is far simpler than you were proposing. All my misery was merely a consequence of human frailty. I could not hope to remove my emotional impurities on my own strength. I lived in fear and anger. Fear that I was not worthy of other people's attention. Anger at how they invalidated me. I became a slave to my emotions. They turned me into a wretched and loathsome creature, hostile to everyone. But things are different now. I've acquired the ability to eradicate those emotions for good. No longer will I be afraid. Never again will I be stirred to anger. No, I am filled now with only one emotion, and that is happiness. I have become humanity perfected.
What I'm hearing is that you've developed your own unique understanding of psychological issues. So how about you play therapist this time? I have a couple of cases I'd love to hear your thoughts on.
I would be delighted.
Hostias. El poder, sí, imagino que es el poder que le da el yokai, ¿no? Es que yo soy encabezonado en que hay un yokai detrás de esto. Hostias. Tiene aquí el control supremo, ¿ve?
The first is a soldier with poor control of his temper. He flies off the handle too easily, and it gets him into all sorts of trouble. This is having a significant impact on his daily life, and he's developed symptoms of depression as a result.
He simply needs to let go of his anger. Then he will surely find peace and happiness.
The second is a fisherman who's developed thalassophobia. Now he is unable to provide for his family, which is causing him immense anxiety.
Oh, of course. He must cast his fear far away and forget it ever existed. Then he can return to the sea at once.
Es que esto suena como muy... No, es que estoy triste, pues no estés, ¿sabes? O sea, es como, no, pues que deje de tener miedo ya. ¿Y cómo lo hace? O sea, no, palabras muy bonitas, pero ¿y cómo lo hace? Entonces, claro, lo que hace
I'm
es...
sorry, but you're wrong on both counts.
Claro, lo que él está haciendo es simplemente como guardar esas emociones, pero no le estás dando solución, simplemente como que la está escondiendo.
Oh?
No le estás ayudando a superar ese miedo.
The soldier's anger is rooted in his strongly held principles. Yes, his rage can make him reckless, but it also fuels his deep desire to stand against injustice. Losing his anger made him passive and apathetic. He now stands by and does nothing as bandits attack innocent people.
Es verdad que decía que como unos bandidos se le habían escapado, pero que le da igual.
The fisherman's fear made him one of the most reliable sailors around. Thanks to his cautiousness and diligence, accidents were a rare occurrence among his crew, despite the dangers of their profession. But after forgetting his fear, he destroyed the fruits of the entire crew's labor on his first return to the sea. Fascinating, isn't it? Anger gives people the courage to stand up for what they believe in, and fear nurtures care and attention. Emotions are integral to human dreams, and after many years of dealing with their dreams, the Yumeko Ibaku have learned an important secret about human emotions. Negative emotions do not just go away. They will always be there. This is true for everyone. Not only that, but their presence is essential. You can't have a healthy human psyche without negative emotion. So do you have any idea what you've done to those poor men?
What an amusing theory. In fact, I do remember those two. But I'm afraid that the only emotion I sense in them now is happiness. How can you believe that negative emotions are required for a healthy psyche? It's a laughable theory. Don't you remember how I was when we first met? You call that healthy?
Acknowledging that negative emotions exist doesn't mean giving them free rein over our minds and lives. Humans have a whole gamut of emotions. They're supposed to keep each other in balance. But if that balance gets disrupted, emotions start working against each other. Untethered rage cripples the capacity to be careful and considerate. Uncontained fear drives people to abandon beliefs they once held dear. The person you were when you first came to my practice only proves this further.
Se lo está explicando la Mizuki, ¿eh? Le ha dejado sin argumentos, el gilipollas.
You were dominated by your emotions. Under their influence, you deliberately inflicted pain on other people. Meanwhile, the person you are now is so lost that you aren't even aware of the pain you're bringing to others. This diagnosis is going to sound harsh, but I'm afraid it's accurate. You've simply gone from one extreme to another. You say you've reached perfection, but you're just as dysfunctional now as where you started.
You... How entertaining. Still, there's no need for me to argue back. You have failed to provoke me. I will forgive you for this offense, because I know my present perfection to be a fact. I have direct and incontrovertible evidence. You once told me that nightmares are the result of a buildup of negative emotions. But ever since I acquired my present abilities, I never had another nightmare again. Clearly, that proves that all of my negative emotions have been definitively eradicated.
Madre mía.
I'm afraid not. Look where we are right now. We're inside your nightmare.
What?
Hostia, la han metido en una pesadilla suya. Ah, no, pero una pesadilla de él, no de Mizuki. Digo, la han metido en la pesadilla de Mizuki, ¿sabes? Como nosotros.
Paimon knew something was up the moment we arrived.
Tal y como pensaba.
The enemies that we encountered were manifestations of his negative emotions. That can only happen in a nightmare.
No, that can't be.
That entity claimed it could remove your negative emotions. But all it did was separate them and store them deep in your subconscious, beyond your reach. There they were left to fester. Your situation is far worse than that of the other victims. It has deceived you at a much deeper level. You can't even perceive that at this very moment, you're in the middle of a nightmare.
How laughable. Fear? No. There is no fear left in me. This is all just a terrible joke. This is no dream. No.
Something's appeared behind him.
El ojo.
So, my arch-nemesis has seen through
Sí.
my trickery.
El ojo que vimos en el sueño de Eder.
Clearly, you came prepared. The emotional cocoon I'd wrapped him in was all but impenetrable. Yet still, you managed to tear it down.
So it is you.
What is that?
A nightmare monster. A fearsome yokai that was once the bane of Inazuma. We Yumekui Baku eat the nightmares of humans, while they called those nightmares their home. So we were natural enemies.
Vaya.
When I heard the traveler recount that strange dream, I knew that this was a possibility. But it's still a shock to see one of our long-lost arch-enemies in the flesh. They were supposed to have gone extinct long ago.
Then allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Kurayume, and I am the last of my kind.
Kurayume. That's a name I haven't heard in a long, long time. How have you survived all these years?
Likewise, Yume Mizuki is a name that takes me back to a different age. Although I must say, we may be born enemies, but I have never felt any great animosity toward you personally.
Le acaba de decir que no la considera su rival, tú.
Ultimately, the fall of the nightmare monsters was the fault of our hosts. Humans are such fragile creatures. But now, I have found a way to revive my kind, and you are too late to stop me.
Hostias.
Oh no! We've got to catch up to him!
Se me hace raro verle correr cuando ha estado teletransportándose toda la conversación, ¿sabéis? Vale, imagino que ahora... Es que me ha parecido... Me ha salido poco el combate que hemos tenido. Me imagino que... Ah, mierda. Vale. Digo, a lo mejor no hacen pelear, pero no. Me imagino que van a ser más puzzles que otra cosa. Vale. Se me hace raro que no nos dejen aprovechar como el volar de la Mizuki, ¿sabéis?
That's the feeling of rejection.
Ah, lo de la Mizuki dura a veces mucho y es un poco, tío.
After him!
Ya, after him, pero... Se nos pone... Es que, joder, este castillo me recuerda mucho al de Kimetsu no Yaiba, Es que han hecho control C, control V, hay que decir aquí, los de jueves. Mira, utiliza la vida occidental. Ya decía yo, se me hacía raro que no nos dejaran aprovechar la vida dental
He's
de
repressing
Mizuki.
his emotions even
Ahí va.
harder.
F. Ah, vale. Sí, F. Digo, a lo mejor lo he hecho bien, pero no lo he hecho bien, no. Vale, tengo que esperar a que se... O sea, esto, vale, tengo que ir a descansar aquí, ¿verdad? Sí, porque no llego. Es que es... Hostia, pero vaya tiempo de espera tiene esto, ¿no? Ah, vale, esto sube y baja. Tarda un rato en subir y bajar, Ya Mizuki, ya os digo, se va a ir al permanente, entonces... No sé si me saldrá en uno de estos banners que tenemos dentro de poco, porque yo quiero tirar por la vaca, que se supone que la vaca va a salir dentro de poquito. Entonces a lo mejor perdemos el 50-50 y no sale Mizuki. Pero si no, no sale Mizuki, que es lo más esperable, porque a mí siempre me sale Kiki o Yen. Y cuando salga la 6.0, que ya sabéis que a partir... ¡No! Ah, vale. Ya sabéis que a partir de ahora, cada vez que llegue una .0, una versión .0, regalan un personaje 5 estrellas de los gratuitos. ¡Ay, va, qué cabrones! Ya, pero me han liado ya, ¿sabes? Ya me han liado. Bueno, a lo mejor hay que caer. No, creo que no. Ah, sí, le hay que caer, sí. Entonces yo elegí a Mizuki.
I used my powers to cushion our fall. Is everyone all right?
Don't worry, we've fallen from bigger heights before. The bigger issue here is that he got away and we were so close.
al que sigo sin tener es a Diluc, Diluc es de los primeros personajes que hubo en el juego y sigo sin tenerle, tío.
We've been completely cut off. That creature has taken complete control of his consciousness. We'll never catch him.
Would it be easier if we wake up now and go catch him in the real world? If this is his nightmare, he must be asleep somewhere, right?
Remember the fragrance we smelled on our way in? That's how the monster lures people into the dream state. Now we're inside. We can't get out unless we manage to defeat him in his true form. He's turned Emarachuya's nightmare into his lair. There's only one way to force him into the open, and that's by finding a way to eat this nightmare.
Eat this nightmare? But is that even possible?
Not only is it possible, Paimon, it's
Vaya.
quite literally my job.
Oh, Paimon knows that. It's just... We all saw what happened to Murasaki and Shion, and this
Claro,
nightmare
si Devor no
is
te sea tan
super
grande,
intense.
claro, si Devor no
Paimon's
sea tan
worried
grande.
this won't turn out well.
This monster has harmed too many people. We have to stop it.
Pero, Mizuki,
It's okay. I knew what I was getting into.
el
Let's
problema
get
es que
moving.
ya sabéis que después Mizuki, después de comerse una pesadilla, siente la tristeza de esa persona. Entonces, hostias.
We may not have caught him, but our chase wasn't in vain. He led us deep inside his dream. We should now be at the subconscious layer that makes up its core.
It's so dark.
That's what happens if you leave your negative emotions to fester. There must be a lot of emotional fragments in this place. We need to follow them one by one until we reach our destination.
Wait, but what is our destination?
Where the light is.
Vale. Yo lo voy a dejar por aquí, ¿vale? Porque llevamos 27 minutos. Me imagino que este vídeo lo cortaré en 2, ¿vale? Pero eso no quería cortarlo antes porque antes ya hemos tan solo 22 minutos y ahí no lo iba a cortar ni coña. Entonces lo corto ahora, ¿vale? Así que nada, espero que os haya gustado, ¿vale? Mañana continuaremos. Imagino que saldremos de estos. No creo que duren mucho más episodios. Así que nada, espero que os haya gustado, que hayáis dado y gracias por ver. Adiós.